Reba was the sitcom built around a country music legend that became one of the most loved shows of the 2000s. But what's interesting, it wasn't actually built around Reba McEntire. The show's creator had someone totally different in mind, to the point where the show would have been completely unrecognizable. And that's just the start of what happened behind the scenes of Reba, a show that had its fair share of drama, a frustrating ending, but it sneakily became one of the more enduring popular family comedies of the 2000s. Today, I'm walking through the rise, the fall, and the staying power of Reba. Now before we start, give this video a like if you watched Reba back in the day, and subscribe for more retro TV deep dives. Okay, let's go all the way back to 1999 and a TV writer named Allison Gibson. She was up in the middle of the night nursing her newborn daughter, watching Nick at Night reruns with the volume low. She saw Sally Field do a cameo on Murphy Brown, and that's when it hit her. I'm going to write a show about my parents' divorce, and Sally Field's gonna be the star. She was still working full-time on Boy Meets World when she wrote the whole thing. The premise revolved around a suburban Texas mom whose dentist husband leaves her for his hygienist, whom he got pregnant, and the mom has to figure out how to hold her family together while her ex-husband and his new wife slowly become part of her life. Gibson called the show Sally. She sent it to her agent, and within weeks, multiple studios were bidding on it. 20th Century Fox Television bought it, and it would be aired on the WB. Now, the WB was still in its first decade of existence, but it was coming into its own. It had Dawson's Creek, Gilmore Girls, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, shows geared toward younger audiences. But they wanted a broader hit to capture more of that 18 to 49 demographic, and the network felt it had enough cred at this point to land a two-time Oscar winner in Sally Field. So they sent the script to Sally Field, and here's the thing. Field's response was that it felt like it was written specifically for her, which it was, but she passed anyway because she wanted to focus on directing. So now they had a show, but no lead. That changed after Reba McEntire read for the role. By 2001, Reba was already a legend, one of the best-selling country artists of all time. She'd been building an acting career on the side for a decade, her film debut in Tremors, a string of TV movies through the 90s, and interestingly, just a few years earlier, James Cameron had personally cast her as Molly Brown in Titanic. She had to turn it down because she already had concert dates on the books, so that role went to Kathy Bates. Anyway, when she saw the script about a Texas woman whose world falls apart overnight and who has to rebuild it from scratch, it clicked with her. Reba had been married twice, she had stepchildren. This wasn't abstract to her, it was a natural fit. Everyone agreed, and she got the role. As for the rest of the cast, Christopher Rich played Brock, the dentist ex-husband who trades in his marriage for his dental hygienist. Rich had spent years on Murphy Brown playing Miller Redfield, the hilariously clueless anchorman. Melissa Peterman was Barbara Jean, the home-wrecking hygienist. Peterman was a Minneapolis-based comedian with almost no television credits. She came in and ad-libbed heavily through her audition and had the room crying laughing. Joanna Garcia played Cheyenne, Reba's oldest daughter. She'd done small roles on Freaks and Geeks and Party of Five, but was still a relative unknown. Steve Howie played Van, the dim but well-meaning football player who got Cheyenne pregnant and ends up moving into Reba's house when his own parents kick him out. Scarlett Palmers played Kira, the sharp-tongued middle child, and Mitch Holloman played Jake, the youngest. They changed the name of the show to Deep in the Heart, revolving around the character named Sally Hart, played by Reba. They filmed the pilot in front of a live studio audience twice in the same day. But an hour before the second taping, they decided to change the main character's name to Reba. While the WB was worried that doing so would turn off younger viewers because Reba was 46, they also thought it would make the audience more engaged with the lead character because of her cachet as a music star. And they were right about the latter. The producers compared the crowd reactions, and the second crowd was much more engaged when the lead character was named Reba. So they scrapped the first pilot, kept the second, and changed the title of the show to Reba. And the rest was history. Reba premiered on October 5th, 2001. Now, the show was originally scheduled to debut on September 14th, but was pushed back because of 9/11. And if you remember how things were at that time, a nation that was still in a state of shock, Reba was a much-needed lighthearted escape. 4.96 million people watched that first episode, which for the WB on a Friday was massive. The network had never seen numbers like that in that time slot. And it kept going. Episode 5 pulled in over 5 million viewers. The season averaged 4.2 million per week and set an all-time WB viewership record for the Friday night slot, particularly among women 18 to 49. It was the network's top comedy. Now, reviews were mixed, but critics acknowledged that McEntire was a natural with genuine comedic timing and an ease in front of a live audience that normally takes years to develop. She'd been performing in front of crowds her entire life, and it translated on screen. She won a People's Choice Award for Favorite Female Performer in a new television series in 2002. Everything was going great, and then the show's creator, Allison Gibson, got fired. Despite the show being a hit, reports surfaced that the network and studio weren't happy with the show's creative direction. So the network brought in Kevin Abbott as showrunner for season 2, and he stayed all the way until the end. What he brought was a subtle but important shift. He moved the series toward richer character-based comedy, toning down Barbara Jean's preachy religious gags and other woman antagonism to make her sweeter, and empowering Reba as the sarcastic yet loving matriarch, holding everything together, creating a warmer tone that balanced the serious divorce/co-parenting moments with bigger laughs. And with that, the show found its groove and went on basically cruise control. Season 2 averaged 4.5 million viewers, up from Season 1. Season 3 averaged 4 million, and Season 4 averaged 4.3. In 2004, McEntire received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress in a Comedy Series, and for the WB, the show was pulling in its fair share of guest stars. Dolly Parton showed up as a real estate agent, Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, played Brock's rival, Kelly Clarkson came in as Barbara Jean's wannabe protege, and then there was Tim Meadows, James Avery, the list goes on. The WB renewed the show for 2 more seasons at the end of Season 4, and this looked like a show that could go the distance. But the smooth sailing was about to end in Season 5. Scarlett Palmers had been playing Kira since she was 12 years old. She was 17 at this point, and the cast was growing concerned about her. Sadly, she was battling anorexia. In late 2005, partway through Season 5, she checked herself into a treatment facility. She'd only appear in 2 episodes that season, with the producers writing around her absence without actually addressing it on screen. It wasn't until Palmers went public herself in 2006 that fans found out. And while, of course, her health was more important than the ratings, Season 5 did, for the first time, see a noticeable drop down to 3.4 million viewers, the lowest the show had ever pulled. And that's when the network pulled chute and canceled the show. Here's what happened. When the WB and UPN announced their merger to form the CW in early 2006, a lot of shows got caught in the crossfire. Everwood, Related, What I Like About You, all of them were cut because the CW was chasing a younger, more urban demographic. Reba, a show about a 40-something Texas divorcee, was not the vision. McEntire said publicly that they had no idea why they were canceled. "We were a huge success," she said, "so it was a head-scratcher for us." But then, something that doesn't often happen, the CW reversed course. Reba was brought back for 1 more season. Here's why. The WB had signed a syndication contract worth $20 million with Reba's producers years earlier. Walking away from the show would cost the CW more than bringing it back. So it was purely about dollars and cents, which the cast apparently didn't know because, as you can imagine, being brought back purely because of a profit and loss statement isn't exactly a morale booster. But the network definitely treated Season 6 as an afterthought. Season 6 debuted November 19th, 2006, but not in its regular Friday slot. It was moved to Sundays at 7:30 p.m., paired with Seventh Heaven. Basically, they were running out the clock. But the great news, Scarlett Palmers came back. And the whole situation was addressed in the Season 6 premiere with a single throwaway line. Reba simply looks at Kira and asks, "Where have you been?" And Kira replies that she went to get something to eat, which is probably the quickest and most light-hearted way to formally address a very serious topic, which was what the show was pretty good at. And despite the time slot change, the ratings actually improved. Reba averaged 3.6 million viewers in Season 6, up from Season 5. It was still the #1 sitcom on the CW. It was to the point where, midway through the season, rumors started circulating that the CW might order the back 9, the remaining episodes that would bring it to a full season. and the numbers justified it. But on January 19, 2007, CW president Don Ostroff quietly confirmed that the show was done. The series finale aired February 18, 2007, drawing 4.4 million viewers for its final half hour, more than the show had averaged in either of its last 2 seasons. But that was far from the end for the show. Reba has really never left. First, many of the stars continued on to great careers. Joanna Garcia Swisher, after she got married to the baseball player, built the most substantial post-show career of the group. She landed on Gossip Girl, Privilege, Better With You, The Mindy Project, The Astronaut Wives Club, and is the lead on Netflix's Sweet Magnolias. Christopher Rich kept working steadily, Boston Legal, Desperate Housewives, Melissa and Joey, before slowing down due to a stroke. Steve Howey spent a decade on Showtime's Shameless as Kevin Ball, the dim but big-hearted bar owner who became one of the show's most beloved characters. Some would say very similar to Van. Scarlett Palmers and Mitch Holloman largely stepped away from acting after the show ended, and I'll get to Melissa Peterman and Reba in a moment. In fact, they almost reconnected in the late 2010s. A Reba revival was in the works for a year and a half, with McEntire, Peterman, Rich, Garcia Swisher, and Howey all agreeing to return. Showrunner Kevin Abbott had the story worked out. They'd pitched it to Fox, who wanted to take it out to networks, but then the Disney-Fox merger in 2019 stalled its progress, and once the dust settled, the moment had passed. But the show was far from done. After a strong syndication run on Lifetime, Ion, CMT, ABC Family, TV Land, and Hallmark, Reba launched on Hulu in 2021, anchoring Hulu's retro sitcom catalog and regularly drawing dedicated viewers. Then in May 2024, it landed on Netflix, and this is when the Reba Renaissance began. For the week of May 6th through May 12th, Reba hit number 9 on Netflix's weekly top 10 list in the United States with 744 million minutes watched in a single week. McEntire said fans were stopping her in airports, people who discovered the show for the first time, and people who'd grown up watching it and were now watching it again with their own kids. The show had become multi-generational, which, from creating a number of these videos now, is rare. There are a lot of top shows like Suddenly Susan, Wings, Coach, Just Shoot Me, that were huge in their day and just kind of faded away. Reba is a different beast, and while fans haven't gotten a reboot, they got the next best thing. In October 2024, Reba and Melissa Peterman came back to once again play unlikely friends in the NBC sitcom Happy's Place. Again, it's not a spin-off of Reba, the characters are completely different, but to many, it's a spiritual successor to the show. And they've certainly leaned into the Reba fandom with all the guest appearances by Reba's co-stars. Steve Howey was first, showing up in the season 1 Christmas episode. Then Christopher Rich played a tattoo artist who'd survived a stroke, mirroring his own real life. Joanna Garcia Swisher made her appearance in season 2 with a bunch of jokes the writers buried that only Reba fans would catch. Looking back on Reba, 20th Century Fox president Gary Newman told Variety that he regretted how the WB had handled Reba in its later years, and he believed it would have been a hit on CBS or ABC. And he was probably right. Had Reba been on the big 3 networks, it could have easily been pulling double the viewers or more. But there are also a lot of shows, as I mentioned earlier, that got more viewers than that got moved around, flamed out, and got forgotten. Whereas Reba has built a steady, consistent audience that has remained for more than 2 decades. If you enjoyed this deep dive, give the video a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.